Seth Oranburg here with Max Torres, who's at the Catholic University of America Busch School of Business, and we just had a presentation by me, and you were going to react to it. What did you think?
And it was brilliant. I must tell you, it was brilliant. Candidly, it opened many questions in my mind about the relationship between collective phronesis and anthropological phronesis, or the traditional Aristotelian Thomistic way of looking at the thing. And I think that there's a lot of room for connections and different ways of moving to the same point, which ultimately I think we want to get to collective humility in the point of regulators. I just would like to get to collective humility by people who happen to be regulators or people who happen to be business people.
So you think about this a lot. Can you define, like briefly, like for a very lay audience, what is humility? Like, what does it even? What does it mean for an organization or a person to be humble?
It would mean for a person to have their concupiscible appetite, if I can whip out a big philosophical word, under the control of reason. It would be the reason would control the passion. That humility is a response to things about you, knowing who you are and knowing where you stand relative to who you are. It's like you don't think yourself too big that I'm big enough, for instance, to regulate the entire field of crowdfunding. I'm big enough to regulate the entire field of EV charging or something. And nobody's that big, And then we could say there's Hayekian, there's limited.
But we don't have to go to the knowledge problem. There's a moral foundation for that behavior too.
Yeah, that it's essentially somebody's temperance is lacking. Temperance is the application of reason to this passion, or this appetite from which passion comes. And a lot of this is related to an anthropology, which I'm going to talk about tomorrow. So human beings are just animals. We are rational animals, which makes us a little bit different than the other animals. But the other animals also move to appetitive things. A piece of pizza is appetitive to a dog or to a man. But what a man or a woman can say is, yes, but this is my third piece, and it may not be reasonable, or yes, but I have diabetes, and maybe I shouldn't just be eating this. Or there is some additional level that the human intellect can capture about the situation that one is in that transcends the particular of the piece of pizza, which the animal cannot transcend. The animal is fixated on that piece of pizza. It's not thinking, oh, this is a piece of pizza. It's just going for something that smells good and tastes good.
My conception of this distinction is language. And, to go back to almost maybe something biblical, but when God created man, created him separately, created him in a fundamentally different way, breathed a separate soul into him, and had a different capacity. And the fundamental thing that seems to make us observationally different from these animals is that linguistic capacity, where we can, that's how we reason.
You're making me think of Wittgenstein and linguistics and getting wrapped up in words and. Yes. I mean, language comes with intellect. I am thinking of it in an intimistic way, in an Aristotelian way. It's like intellect, a human soul, if you will, which is the animating principle of life, is intellect and will. Now, of course, the Catholic Church took this and blended it up with sin and heaven and hell and all the rest of this stuff, and I think it's fascinating. And I also happen to believe it, by the way, as a Catholic. But I think going back to basics, we're talking about intellect and will. And we're talking about a capacity to go beyond sort of immediate, sort of the empirical touchable, the things that you can smell, taste, all the things that our five senses can capture. It's like, well, that's where all knowledge starts. But that's not where it ends. I mean, we see particular things. I'm looking at a chair. The chair is not in my head. The chair is in an image in my head. And somehow I'm making an analysis with my intellect, with some other capacity beside my eye and my sight, that, this is a thing we sit in, this is a chair. I'm universalizing it in my head instantaneously, all around.
Is that the Platonic ideal? Like that's something that happens in the black box of your mind? Or am I connecting things that are not connected there?
No, well, I think Plato's connected to a lot of things. But the issue with Plato is he thinks that the real is happening in what Kant would have called the realm of the noumena. He's thinking of it in the world of forms. And that somehow, what Aristotle was, and the way he was different than Plato, is he didn't believe forms existed without matter. He didn't believe matter existed without form. It's like matter and form. But that's what human beings are: incarnate spirits. We are also matter and form. We are matter. We have flesh and blood, and we have souls. We have intellect and will. And the relationship between that matter and the soul is a relationship between senses, which are very particularized to some object or person or action or thing, and some universalizable concept about the thing that we're looking at. And it's like, that's what makes us different than every other animal on the planet. That's what makes you brilliant. That's what makes you able to write these things and speak these things and do all, because you have this capacity that a dog doesn't have or a cow doesn't have. And those are the sorts of things that virtues address. And you're talking about phronesis, and that is like, that's the, I don't know, they're calling it the queen of the cardinal virtues. It is, prudence is the form of the other virtues. For a person to be just, for a person to be brave, for a person to be in control of their desires, those things require that a person be prudent. You need to see, first of all, what the brave thing is, what the just thing is, who's do something, where should I stop, where should I pursue. All these things are acts of mind, and that's prudence. That's phronesis. What's interesting about your paper is you're taking what's an anthropological, a concept in philosophical anthropology, and you're applying it to organizations, and you're applying it to superstructures of legal regimes, and there is a relationship. And as I say, I'll be talking about the relationship tomorrow, although as far as within my little world of what I can do. But it was fascinating, Seth.
Well, thanks, Max. Yeah, it's such a pleasure to get your comments. I can't wait for your paper. Thanks again.
Looking forward to it.